All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and the continuation of our RBT practice question series where we're going through another set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. When you pass your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. A teacher wants to measure how many math worksheets a student completes each afternoon while also grading some other papers. At the end of the class, the teacher counts the finished worksheets. What is the main advantage of using permanent product recording in this situation? So this question is a measurement question, but it actually gives you the type of measurement that's being used. And instead, it asks you, why was this measurement chosen, or what is the advantage of choosing this type of measurement? Remember, we have several types of measurement we can use: continuous, discontinuous, permanent product, and each has a use and each has a time and place. In this case, we're using permanent product recording, which means we aren't necessarily measuring the behavior, but rather what the behavior produces or the outcome. So this teacher wants to measure how many math worksheets the student completes, and they also want to grade other papers. So the teacher doesn't want to have to watch the student complete the worksheets, but at the end of the class, they can count how many worksheets were done. What is the main advantage in this situation of using permanent product? A, it allows the behavior to be recorded after it has occurred without continuous observation. Yes, that is essentially the best thing about permanent product recording. If we can't be there for the behavior, if we have to do other things while the behavior occurs, if the behavior of interest reliably produces an outcome, something that can be measured, then permanent product could be a good choice. Here, the teacher is easily going to know if the math worksheet was completed or not because they can go in and count whether or not they were completed. And that also allows them to grade other papers while also measuring the behavior. What about B? It is more accurate than direct observation. Not necessarily, right? Direct observation is typically the best way to measure. Now, there's always exceptions to every rule, but B is way too strong of an answer without enough support for it being the correct answer. C, it eliminates the need for defining behavior operationally. Well, no, we still would need to define what does it mean to complete a math worksheet, what is she measuring, what counts. So we don't get to avoid defining the behavior. We just don't have to necessarily continuously observe the behavior. And then D, it ensures that behaviors are reinforced more frequently. We're not talking about a consequence procedure, we're talking about the measurement procedure here. So in this case, it allows the behavior to be recorded after it has occurred without continuous observation. Notice that A was a very good answer, and we still read every answer choice. You want to know why the wrong answers are wrong just as much as why the correct answer is correct. A client's parent invites you to attend her wedding as a guest after working together for several months. You have a great relationship with the family and the client. What is the best action you should take as a behavior technician? So clearly a conflict of interest, multiple relationship, dual relationship question. And the one thing we have to remember about our relationships with our clients, with our families, is we are there as a professional in a professional setting and from a professional point of view. We're there to deliver a service, and that's it. We can't be friends with these families and these clients because what we do is based on objectivity. If you start to get involved with them in some sort of friendly relationship, you become biased, and we cannot be biased in this field. So in this case, if your client's parent invites you to attend her wedding as a guest, what are you going to be doing? Because if you're a guest, you're not there in any technician capacity. You're a guest. And so you have this great relationship with the family and the client, and yet now you're in this uncomfortable position of getting the invite. What should you do as the behavior technician? A, accept the invitation to maintain good rapport with the family. In this situation, we can't do that, right? We're going to have to figure out a way to just let them know we appreciate the invite, but we cannot accept it because of our ethical code. B, attend the event but avoid discussing therapy. We should not attend the event at all. C, politely decline and inform your supervisor about the situation. Yes, this is what the best move here in this situation. Decline the invite, let your supervisor know what has happened, and 9 times out of 10, everybody's going to move on. It's going to be fine, right? They're not going to be offended. As long as they know we have an ethical code, it does not allow you to take part in this wedding. D, accept but set clear boundaries with the family during the event. No, we should not go to the event at all. Politely decline it, inform your supervisor, and then continue providing good service. During a session, your client begins throwing objects and trying to run out of the building. You have not yet been trained on the client's behavior intervention plan or crisis plan. What should you do first in the situation as the behavior technician? So clearly there's a few things wrong here, right? You should not be on any sort of client or any sort of case if you haven't been trained. That's already a problem. If you ever are given a client and told to go provide service and you have not received training on the intervention plan, the treatment plan, the crisis plan, you should not give service for this reason exactly. You don't know what you're supposed to be doing in the situation, and yet here you have a scenario where someone could get hurt, where the client's throwing objects and trying to run out of the building. It puts you in a very bad situation. It gives liability to the supervisor. It's not good all around. If you do find yourself in this situation, what is the default, right? What should you do if you're in a situation with the client and you're not prepared to handle the behavior? A, physically block the client and restrain them immediately. Well, restraint should be the last option always, because it can be very dangerous. It can be very traumatizing. We should not immediately jump to restraining a client just because things are getting difficult. B, leave the client alone until they calm down. Well, the idea that they're trying to run out of the building means we should not leave the client alone. We need to keep an eye on them. C, follow basic safety procedures. Keep yourself and others safe and immediately alert your supervisor. Yes, whatever we're doing, number one thing, keep yourself and keep others safe. Keep everybody around you as safe as possible with minimal need for any sort of physical restraint, right? So basic safety ideas, keep yourself safe, and you want to contact your supervisor immediately. And this is why you should never go into a case without training, because now everybody's in a very uncomfortable situation. D, repeatedly ask the client to calm down without intervening in any additional way. Well, just talking to them over and over again and avoiding intervention is almost as bad as leaving the client alone. They're trying to run out of the building. They're throwing things. We've got to emphasize safety in this situation, especially if you don't know the exact plan. So what should you do first? Follow basic safety, keep yourself and others safe, immediately alert your supervisor. During a 30-minute work session, you are assigned to track how many times your client independently asks for a break without any prompting. You observe and record each time the client says, "Break, please." At the end of the session, you document that the client made 5 independent break requests. Based on how the data were collected, which of the following measurement procedures did you use? Easy question. It's a long question, but it doesn't make it difficult. So don't see a long question on the exam and start to preemptively panic, because this is a very easy question. It's just asking you, what type of measurement did you use? You had a 30-minute work session. You wanted to know how many times your client asked for break. And remember, when you see this phrase, how many, we're thinking frequency, we're thinking rate, we're thinking some sort of count. You observe and record each time the client says, "Break, please." And you said the client made 5 break requests. So what did you do? You just counted how many times the client said, "Break, please." So based on that, what procedure did you use? Well, probably frequency. We just counted 5 requests. Easy as that. If we're talking duration, if we're talking latency, we're thinking about time. So not how many, but how long. So B and C are out. Momentary time sampling has to do with an interval, right? So if we have a 1-minute interval, we're looking at the very end of that interval. Did the behavior occur or not? That's not what we did here. All we did here was count the number of break requests. Very easy question, right? If you attack the question, no matter how long the question may be, some of these are going to be very easy. You can answer them very quickly. You're asked to measure how long it takes for your client to complete a motor imitation task during 3 different trials in a session. You record the following durations: 8 seconds for trial 1, 12 seconds for trial 2, and 10 seconds for trial 3. Your supervisor asks you to calculate the client's average time to complete the task across the 3 trials to track improvement over time. What is the client's average duration per trial? So we're trying to find an average. Okay, that's all this question wants to know. How do we find an average? Well, first we need to add up all of our data points. We have 8, we have 12, we have 10. So we're going to add 8 plus 12 plus 10. And what is that going to give us? It's going to give us 30. We then divide our total by the number of data points, which is 3, which is going to give us 10 seconds. And that's how we find an average. You should know how to find an average already. If you don't, it's not a difficult concept, but it's something you need to know. So in this case, our average duration is going to be 10 seconds. So whenever you get a question asking about a total measurement, an average measurement, yes, it's a little bit of math. It's very simple math. And it's going to be a very easy question to answer on the exam if you just understand what the question is asking and if you can actually do the calculation. If you don't know how to calculate an average, practice a couple. You need to know how to do it. All right. Pretty good questions today. I found them pretty easy today, but that's okay. I hope we learned something from them. As always, check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. When you pass your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard,